Hello, welcome if you're new here, welcome back if you're not. My name is Kayla Bright. I'm a boudoir photographer based out of Victoria, BC, and this is my first sort of sit down chatty video. And I have filmed the first 5 minutes of this video probably a dozen times now. I'm just going to be really honest about it. I'm really nervous about this. And I think part of it is I used to do a podcast years ago, and that hit a point where it felt very natural, where I had a flow, I had a rhythm, I had a consistent audience. And so I didn't feel like I had to kind of like do this intro thing that I'm doing right now because I had a consistent audience and I had a consistent like touch point on my page that folks could use if they were new. It does not help that I am currently fighting a cold. My day job is nannying, and risks of the job, I get sick a lot. So I'm aware of the fact that my voice sounds weird right now and that I'm using this mic, which I know captures my voice with every little detail. So that doesn't help my brain being kind of scattered and all over the place. But basically, I wanted to talk a little bit about how deleting Instagram a few months ago led to this whole rabbit hole that I've gotten down with tech and how I've completely changed my relationship with tech and media and consumption in a really cool way. So if you're new here, I'm going to give a quick little TLDR. I do have a whole video talking about why I left Instagram and what that means for my business and how fucking terrifying that is as a photographer to leave Instagram. So I'll link that in the description. But if you don't want to go to that video, if you don't want to go watch another one of my videos, that's totally fine. If you want to just stay here. Basically, the short version of the story is I was really tired of the way that social media was impacting my mental health, the way my relationship with my phone was impacting my relationships with the world around me, as well as the censorship that I was experiencing on Instagram. I don't know if I got into it in that video, but like my feed, my posts do not get pushed out into the explore page. They don't get pushed out to anyone. And as far as boudoir photography goes, my feed is pretty tame. The reason my account is flagged and can't be recommended, as told to me by Instagram, is because of the words in my bio. So my photography is boudoir for queers and weirdos. And because I have the word boudoir and the word queer in my bio, Instagram has decided that I am not recommendable to other people. And I know it's those two words specifically because I have explored and like experimented with my bio on another account to see if it got flagged. It's just ridiculous. I'm really, really tired of it. And it felt like I was just screaming into a void to try and share my art. And I've learned a lot since deleting Instagram. I feel like it has significantly impacted my relationship to my art and the way that I am capturing photographs. I've had 2 sessions since like fully deleting Instagram off my phone and like only using it like 2 minutes a week to post. I was for a bit there trying to keep posts going up on my feed for business purposes. I have since completely abandoned that. I was just like sitting down on Sunday and like scheduling a bunch of posts. I shared that in a vlog at the beginning of my channel. And I stopped doing that because it didn't feel like it was making a significant impact. And I felt like I was putting so much mental energy into making sure that my posts were appropriate for the feed, that I wasn't going to get flagged, that I had engaging like captions and stuff like that. I posted a reel and just felt like I was selling my soul. The effort that it takes to constantly have posts going up on your Instagram is exhausting and overwhelming. And I feel like it really dumbed down my art in a sense because I felt like I had to always have new stuff to post because that's what the feed wants. That's what the algorithm wants. And Instagram has been very clear, and Meta's been very clear. They want us posting constantly because they want people staying engaged on the platform. And that's just not realistic as an artist. My art takes time. When I was actively trying to make sure my posts got onto social media, there was a lot of pressure for me to make sure that I was booking clients that gave social media consent, which is not necessarily fair or reasonable when I work with adult workers. And I don't know if I'm allowed to say the word sex workers on YouTube, so we're just going to call them adult workers. When you're working with adult workers and local adult workers, they don't necessarily want their face on your Instagram because then they could be found by ex-clients, ex-partners, family, all sorts of things. They don't want their face on your feed necessarily. They don't want to be promotional material. It made the exchange of someone booking me for photography feel very transactional, and not in the sense that it is a transaction. They are paying me money for my skills and my artistry, but rather it was this like weird exchange of like, okay, they're paying me for my photography, but also they're doing me a favor by letting me use their face and their body as promotional material. And obviously, if you've watched my videos, I am still sharing photos from my sessions, only with explicit consent from the clients, of course, as well as I don't feel this pressure to be sharing my art all the time because there's other things that I can share on YouTube that are valuable and meaningful and that get people's eyes on my work eventually, right? Because every single video is linked to my website. Every single video, I'm going to be referencing my newsletter. But yeah, basically, I was really, really tired of the censorship. I was really tired of feeling like I had to create art that was Instagram friendly. All of that is like kind of the reason why I left Instagram. This video is actually about the things that have happened since leaving Instagram. So I started this YouTube page because I wanted to leave Instagram. And when I left Instagram, I started seeking out videos of other artists who deleted Instagram and how they've fared since because I needed some reassurance that I wasn't insane, that I hadn't lost my mind, that I wasn't setting myself up for complete and utter failure. I was feeling really, really anxious about it. And so I started searching YouTube for videos of different artists who had quit Instagram, how they were building their businesses outside of Instagram, and what that looked like for them. I was watching those videos, and then of course algorithms do what algorithms do, and I kind of fell down a little rabbit hole. And it started with people talking about deleting their streaming services, which I have been kind of on the move towards for a while. My husband and I, we use the library a lot. We watch most of our movies on DVD. We only really use streaming services for television. And I started watching all these different videos of people talking about property or ownership of media and the value of ownership of media. And there's this quote from, I believe it was the 2016 Economic Forum, World Economic Forum. The quote is, "You will own nothing and you will be happy." And if you watched any of these videos, I'm sure you've heard that quote before. But for me, that was like a knife in the chest because I already was struggling with my relationship with media and the fact that I don't own anything and like the frustration of the things that I really enjoy just disappearing off of Netflix. I don't own anything. I don't own any of the things that I enjoy. I don't own the music that I enjoy. Like at any point in time, my favorite artists could be just taken off of Spotify or they could remove themselves from Spotify, which I would completely 100% support because they're not paid fairly. And I would just have no say over it. Between those things and just my general politics and beliefs around payment of workers and payment of artists. I am an artist. I deserve to be paid fairly. Other artists deserve to be paid fairly. Spotify does not pay artists fairly at all whatsoever. Neither does Netflix. And all of these different streaming services are constantly finding ways to actively undercut the people that make them their money, right? The reason people subscribe to Spotify is so that they can hear the music that they love. And Spotify only makes money because people want to listen to the music they have on their platform, and yet they're actively undercutting the people that bring their clientele in. And part of it is because Spotify and streaming in general is just not a sustainable business practice. It costs a lot to host and own and stream all of this media, all of this content. It costs a lot of money. So it's not a sustainable business platform to begin with. And then to add into that they're actively stealing from artists, they're actively undercutting them. And I don't think billionaires should be billionaires. I don't agree with that. But I also don't agree that we should be actively punishing artists because the method of music distribution has changed. I mean, it's still better off than everyone pirating their music, but it's just not great, especially small local artists, which I listen to a lot of. It just wasn't great. And so I was feeling very frustrated. And so YouTube started showing me from people leaving Instagram to people leaving streaming services. And I'd already been talking to my husband about us just like canceling Netflix. It's the only streaming service we pay for at this point, and going straight to using just library DVDs. And then I'd suggested to him, I said, what if we start building our own media collection? And he, like a lot of people, were worried about the collection of stuff, which I completely agree with. I don't want a bunch of stuff. And I'm constantly asking him to get rid of his video game cases because it's just a bunch of stuff in drawers that we don't touch. So that was a concern, and we came up with the solution that we were going to buy CD cases. So we have these little CD binders that we are using for DVDs and one for CDs, and we're going to be getting bigger ones soon. And we started going to the thrift store and buying used DVDs to just build a collection. And we've already been utilizing that more. I don't think we watched a movie on streaming services in a month. We're still watching TV. We're keeping Netflix until we're caught up on Bridgerton. He's been making me watch Arcane and then the new Umbrella Academy. So once we're done all three of those, we are canceling Netflix because there's no need for us to be paying for this every single month. It's kind of ridiculous. So all of this then led me down into another rabbit hole, which was folks getting rid of their smartphones. And I've been talking about getting a dumb phone for a long time, but I couldn't figure out how to make it work and the logistics of it. I mean, to get rid of my smartphone, it means losing a lot of convenience and a lot of ease. And it also would mean getting rid of a lot of my anxiety and a lot of my stress and a lot of my time wasting. So I started watching videos about that. And that led to the biggest thing that I was trying to figure out was music. Music was my biggest holdup in all of this because I am not just a music lover, I'm a music devourer. I listen to so much music every single day. I used to spend so much of my time seeking out music that I enjoyed, and it took me a really long time to find music that I loved, and more like that. And I remember using websites like sounds like.com or sounds just like, something like that. Taste Kid was a huge one that I used all the time, where I would type in a band that I was really enjoying and it would spit out bands that it thinks I would like based on that. And there was a different level of labor put into finding music that I enjoyed. And then in the Spotify era, especially post-COVID, I find I'm just kind of listening to like the same music over and over again. When I would listen to newer music, Spotify was just kind of, it would always redirect me back to the same kind of thing. It would take me back to like very traditional pop music. It would spit out a lot of like Taylor Swift and Sabrina Carpenter and all of these different artists. And like, no shade to those artists, like they're fantastic, they're phenomenal. They're very good at what they do. They are as successful as they are for a reason, but that's not actually the music that I, as a person, primarily enjoy. Hi, it's Editing Kayla here. I wanted to give a bit more of a concise summary of what I'm trying to say here. Basically, what I'm getting at is I used to be a very active consumer of music. I used to really enjoy the labor of building taste and building my music catalog and seeking out artists that I enjoy, and as well as like the risk and the gamble of, say, going to the record store, going through genres that you know that you enjoy, buying an album, and having the risk that it might suck. The active labor of seeking out music is a huge part of my love of music, and I lost that in the last like 6 years and became a very passive consumer where I just kind of let the algorithm lead me to the next song, whether it was using my Discover Weekly or when the Daylist came out, using that, letting the algorithm kind of lead me. And the thing is when you do that, it's going to continue recommending the most popular thing, and eventually you're going to end up to the same place as everybody else. So when I first started using Daylist, I was getting more of the niche music that I liked, and then it was like, oh, you like this, you'd probably like this, and it slowly leads you into the same kind of tunnel that everybody else is in. And I referenced early music algorithms, music recommendation algorithms earlier in the video where I talked about Taste Kid and Sounds Like, and those were actually very early systems of what Spotify uses now. And I ran into those same issues when I was a teenager and using those websites where I would ask for a certain band, and by like 5 bands later, I would be back at the first band that I asked about. So yeah, definitely my point here is about active consumption versus passive consumption. I just was really struggling to get to that point in my conversation when I originally recorded this video. And I just was getting really frustrated with Spotify. And I looked into it and started kind of seeking, where could I find music otherwise? How could I listen to music that I actually owned was my big one. And so I found this app. It's called Musicalette. And so I downloaded it onto my phone, and I'll show you what it looks like. My phone's in black and gray, so apologies. But it just looks like a regular music player, except everything on my phone is stuff that I actually own. It's all music that I actually own. And it's like, I don't have a ton of music on here right now. I think I have 447 songs on here. And most of these are from CDs that I already owned or CDs that I got from the Buy Nothing group in my neighborhood. And so it's like a very weird mix right now. I bought a couple CDs and I bought a couple albums online. I've been using a website called 7Tracks to buy albums online, and it has been a game changer. And so now I actually physically own, like, oh my goodness, this is my favorite band in the whole world. And I've not owned their music. I've never once bought their music. I have not paid them to say thank you for the beautiful fucking music that they write. I have their other album, Okay, I'm Sick, on the way right now. I own this. This one I got from a thrift store. I paid $1.50 for this. I own it now. And like, okay, no money went to the Tragically Hip for me buying this. That's fine. They're fucking billionaires, and Gord Downey's dead anyways. So like, I don't feel too horrible about that. I've definitely been thrifting a lot or using the Buy Nothing group just because it's expensive to build up a music library. But if I really love something and value it, I will buy it. Like I bought Flower albums. I'm trying to find their EP right now. I've actually been purchasing music. I bought a Hobo Johnson album. I bought I bought the Fall of Hobo Johnson last week. I paid $7.50 for it. But that money is actually going to him mostly. Like I'm trying to use Bandcamp as much as possible for online purchases, but more and more artists just don't use Bandcamp, especially newer artists. So I do try to use Bandcamp as much as possible because 90% of your purchase goes to them. But with 7 Tracks, I believe it's 70% of the purchase goes to the artist. So that means for the price of my, like a little bit less than my Spotify subscription, I actually paid the artist that I'm listening to. I gave them money to say, thank you for making this beautiful art that I love and that I listen to. All of this is to say, I found a way to engage with music in a way that feels more intentional. And I wanted to cut down my screen time. I was finding that, okay, I wasn't scrolling Spotify. I wasn't doing all these different things. I was still spending a lot of time on YouTube. Like since deleting Instagram, all of a sudden my YouTube time skyrocketed and I've just like definitely replaced one form of distraction for another. And so I started looking into dumb phones, which I have looked into before, but not with like a very serious intention because the idea of fully leaving my phone behind was really overwhelming. And there's a lot of things that I would have had to change for that, especially as a nanny. Like I still need to be able to have group chats with my nanny family and be able to send photos and all these different things. So I did a ton of research and I ended up finding the Cat S22. So I don't have it yet. It gets here tomorrow. It is a a dumb phone that runs on Android, like a very simple Android OS. So I can still have my Fitbit app, I can still have my weather app, and I can still have group chats with my nanny family and my like physical family. I also, most of my messaging exists in Messenger, like Facebook Messenger, and it would just be unrealistic to expect everybody in my life who primarily uses Messenger to switch to SMS just for me. Like that just didn't feel fair. So this phone supports Messenger. It also supports WhatsApp. So it means my friends that live internationally or my friends that travel a lot or the nonprofit that I'm a part of, the group chat for that, I will still be able to access those from my phone. I won't have to like go out of my way to access them and not be in contact. If something important happens with Wild Child, I need to be able to see it. So that'll all still be on my phone. But it's a very light phone and it won't have most of the things that I find very distracting on my phone. In the meantime, I did try to dumbify my phone. Like I only just ordered the Cat phone 2 days ago because I was finding I was not able to reduce my phone screen time. That's something that I see a lot in comment sections, videos about switching to a dumb phone or a light phone or just trying to reduce screen time in general. Is like, oh, you should have better boundaries. Oh, you should just like set better settings on your phone. I will show you right now. I did so much to try and reduce my screen time. So this is what my home screen looks like right now. I use an app called O Launcher, and so it only shows me messages, Messenger, my music app, and my phone app. But the thing is, I still have access to all of my other apps, everything else. Ultimately, I end up just with this like, it's slightly more difficult to distract myself with my phone, but it's not impossible. Also, I have a Google Pixel, which means I cannot delete the YouTube app. I can't delete any Google owned apps, which is a piss off and a half. It makes me so mad. So yeah, I still ended up finding myself scrolling YouTube, well, a lot better than most social medias, and I thoroughly enjoy YouTube in a different way. It's still a huge time suck, and in a way it's a different kind of time suck because I end up watching like a 35-minute video and then wanting to go watch another video because something else popped up that looks really interesting. I have this on Do Not Disturb. I have my phone on Do Not Disturb 90% of the time, and if it's not on Do Not Disturb, I have it on silent and I have notifications turned off for every single app except messaging. And I still get distracted by it because a friend will message me and I'll text them back. And then I'm like, oh, well, I'm on my phone. Why don't I check my email? Oh, well, I'm on my email. Why don't I check YouTube? Oh, I wonder how my video that I posted last week is doing. And now I'm in a time suck. Or I'll Google something. And then even if you just go onto the Google search app, it gives you the freaking YouTube card, or like not YouTube, the Google News cards. Well, now there's an article about my local, like something happening in my neighborhood. I want to read about it. And now I'm on my phone. It just, as much as I try to set boundaries with my device, it's just not possible. These devices are so brilliantly designed to keep you engaged and keep you addicted to them. The only solution I could see was getting rid of it altogether. So I have my dumb phone coming in, and then I've had to think a lot about how to solve the problems that come with having a dumb phone. So for the Notes app, I have been for the last 2 weeks using this instead of the Notes app. So this lives in my purse or my work bag. And I'm like, what can I show in here? That's totally, yeah. So I have like to-do lists and my shopping lists. And it also means that I'm like thinking a little bit more about what I'm jotting down. Actually, physically writing it down creates a different connection in your brain than typing it. Bands that I want to look out for. So I subscribed to Alternative Press magazine again. So I subscribed to it digitally. I don't think they actually release physical magazines anymore. But when I get emails from them about different like articles, if they're talking about new bands and I like the music that they're talking about, I write it down. I'm like, hey, let's watch for these bands. Let's see if they have new albums coming out. If someone mentions a band that sounds interesting, I write it down. There's so much that this little notebook has helped me with that I have probably 200 notes in my phone and I don't know what 90% of them are because they just, I write them down and then I forget about them. I don't open it up. When I open the Notes app again, I open it to a new note. So I'm not forced to look at the other things that I wrote down and realize like, oh, I've actually already made a note about this. Oh, I have 13 to-do lists that I've never actually completed because I write them down and then I forget about them. To solve the camera issue, I was mostly using my paper shoot because my phone's in black and gray full time now. Taking photos on my phone is really awkward and uncomfortable and clunky. So aside from taking photos for work, I wasn't using my phone for photos at all, really. But I have this. This is a paper shoot. Now this, my husband bought me this for Christmas 2 years ago because I was feeling guilty about the amount of waste I was producing using disposable cameras. I love film so much. And I have a few film cameras, but most of them are broken. So I was using disposable cameras a lot for film photography and like casual film photography. And he found this. So this functions like a film camera, but it's completely digital and it's made out of recycled materials, supposedly. So it's just got this like tiny little computer inside of it. It's like just like a little motherboard or whatever. I don't know what it would be called. Little tiny computer inside of it. And then it takes AAA batteries and it takes a memory card. And so this lives in my purse. And when I want to take photos out in the world, I take photos on this. And then I have to, like, there's no screen on it. So I can't see what I took photos of until I take it home, take the memory card out and plug it into my computer, which I love. The problem is the quality of photos on this is not very good. And with me switching to a dumb phone fully this week, I wanted to be able to still take videos out in the wild for my YouTube. I want to be able to vlog. I wanted to be able to take good quality photos for my nanny family. That's huge. Like that's super important. That's a huge part of my job is to be able to take good photos of the kids and send them to the parents and be like, hey, these are the things that we're doing. And I was going to buy a new camera. I had been planning on buying a new point and shoot camera and it was going to be like $600. And I was like, hey, I'm just going to save for it. It's going to be a thing. I'd already talked about on here that my goal was to do this for 6 months and then invest in a good camera. But because I'm not going to be taking my smartphone around, I needed a solution right away. And then I remembered last night that I have this. So the battery life on this sucks because this is like 7 years old. 7 years old because I bought this when my husband and I first got together. So this is almost 8 years old now. But I can replace the battery for way less than a new camera. And then I'm just going to take this around with me everywhere. And it's just going to live in my bag. And if I want to take good photos, I can take good photos. And then again, I have to take them home, upload them onto my computer. I don't know if I'll be able to vlog with this much, but I'm going to try. I'm going to try this week actually and see how vlogging on this goes instead of vlogging on my phone. So all of those things have solved most of my issues. When it comes to Google Maps, my phone will still have that functionality, although apparently it's not super great. So I am going to be investing in a paper map and I'll just keep a paper map in my car. And if someone sends me a Google Pin, I will look at it quickly, get the like information that I need and then go. If I'm at home, I could also look it up on my computer or my tablet and write down the instructions of where to go. My car does have a built-in GPS, so it's really at work that I'll have the issue because neither are my work cars. So I can use either of my nanny family's cars when I'm at work. And neither of them have built-in GPS, so that is where like the paper map situation will come in, or writing down the instructions from my tablet or my computer will become an important thing for me to do. But beyond that, like there's not much else that I feel like I'm going to be missing from my phone. Music wise, I have asked for a iPod for my birthday. My birthday's at the end of August, so I told my mom and my husband I just want a used iPod. In the meantime, I'm gonna have a couple weeks without music easily available to me, and that's okay. That's fine, I think. I am gonna, for my car, put some of my music that I own on my computer onto a USB drive because I can plug a USB drive into my car and then I can have music that way. Unfortunately, my car doesn't have a CD player, so that is going to be my best bet. All of this is just kind of an exemplification of how I am changing my life. And I don't think that everybody needs to just get rid of their phone. I've been talking about this a lot, obviously, in my real life. And my friend Colette was like, I don't want this. I don't want to be less plugged in. I want to be more plugged in. I want to doom scroll more. And I'm like, you know what? Respect. If it is not actually harming your life, if it's serving a purpose for you, I think that's fine. For me, I know that my relationship with my phone has never been healthy. My relationship with screens has never been healthy. I was a Tumblr kid. My relationship with the internet has never been a good relationship. As much as I love the internet and it offers so many beautiful things, I really need to have really good boundaries with it. And I'm also about to start a family. So I haven't talked about this much on the channel, but my husband and I are trying to start a family this year. And I think a lot, I've been a nanny for 11 years. I've watched how many households the kids will go, Mom, can I use screens? Can I use iPad? Can I watch TV? And they go, No, sweetie, you can't. And this isn't a judgment to the parents because this is the world that we live in, but I don't want to be that for my kids. I see the confusion in the kids' eyes. I see the frustration in their eyes. And I've been guilty of this as well in my own job, where I'll be texting friends or clients or whatever, like making plans for the day, whatever it is that I'm doing on my phone. I'm not generally just scrolling on my phone at work because like I don't love that at all. And generally in my contract, there's usually rules around not doing that. But I don't like telling the kids no to screens because I'm an adventure nanny. We go out, we do things, we live in the world, we go on adventures. I don't like saying no to screens and then being on my screen. And I don't want to do that to my kids. And I think about that a lot. And I think if I'm starting my family now, I can create a lifestyle where it feels really easy and natural to not be on my phone all the time. I don't want to have to stop cold turkey because I'm realizing the hypocrisy that I am demonstrating to my children. I don't want my children having constant dopamine input from screens and tablets and TV. My husband and I have talked extensively about the fact that we have a PlayStation, but we're going to invest in a better DVD player so that for my kids, TV is going to the library, picking out some movies to watch, bringing them home and having them to watch for a week, and then having to give them back. One more quick interjection here, just because I am very passionate about the subject and I realize that it's also a very sensitive subject. There is zero judgment here coming from me towards parents who use screens. Screens are a tool when it comes to parenting, and as long as you are using them as such, as long as you are using them intentionally with your kids, more power to you. This is not a, if you put your kids on a screen ever, you're a bad parent. No, not at all. This is genuinely just, I think about things a lot. I think about things probably more than I should. And these are the things that I have thought about with my own goals in parenting. And that doesn't mean that this is how I think everybody should parent. This is just how I want to parent. So I just needed to say that because I know it's a sensitive subject. Having to have delayed gratification if their friends are talking about something that they really like on TV, okay, we have to seek it out. We have to do work to watch it. I want my kids to know what it's like to be bored, to have to work for something and to have to wait for something, because I barely had to learn how to do that. And I just see so many of these kids that I've worked with never have to wait for things. Something as simple as watching TV and needing to skip the intro, that it's so easy to skip the intro on every single thing that they're watching. That one, we've lost the art of the intro because, oh my God, does anybody remember Phineas and Ferb and the banger of a theme song that Bowling for Soup did for Phineas and Ferb? It was iconic. And I was nannying these kids about 4 years ago, and I had some older kiddos that I was working with. One of them was 8, and I was like, here's the show that I loved when I was your age. It's fun, it's hilarious, it's cheeky. I think you'll really like it. And so we were sitting and watching it. We watched the first episode, and the second episode starts playing, and he goes, Kayla, why didn't you skip the intro? And I'm sitting there looking at him going, because the intro is amazing, because that's part of the show, because that's part of the experience. He just wanted to get to the show. He just wanted to get to the gratification, the satisfaction. He's like, I've seen this once before. I never need to see it again. He doesn't want to have to wait for the thing. And I want my kids to have to wait for the thing. But I want to demonstrate to them that it's possible to wait for the thing, to have some meaningful friction in their lives, to have some delayed gratification. So all of this is, something that I am on this journey with, and I don't want to feel like I'm preaching, but I also want to share what I'm learning and the things that are changing, because I think it can add a lot of value to other people's lives. I have not seen a single video on YouTube in all of this where people are like, I deleted social media for a month and yeah, it was fine. Every single person has felt like their life has changed, who has felt like there is something significant within themselves that they have gotten back. And I want to show the ways that I am making efforts to do that within myself, to show that it's not impossible. It is hard. It does take a little bit of work. I don't think it takes a ton of financial investment. I mean, the camera is probably the biggest thing that I could see folks investing in, but you can buy it used. You can buy a used point and shoot camera for a couple $100 on Facebook Marketplace or Kijiji, or used whatever, like whatever website it is that you use in your area. You can probably find a used camera on there for a decent price. That is the biggest investment. I think most dumb phones are not expensive. The one that I bought was $85. There are some out there that are really, really expensive. The Punked MPO2 is like obscenely expensive. So is the light phone. I think that they are completely and entirely overrated. I do not think that we need to be spending that much on dumb phones. I think that it is consumerism at its best. I think it's really good marketing. And I think in 5 years from now, we're going to look back at those phones and laugh at ourselves for ever getting into them. I think they're really cool. Like the Punked, I think, is aesthetically really cool. I like the simple design. Same with the light phone. However, every review I've seen of the light phone is that it's awful to text on, at least with like T9 texting. You know, it's a pain, it's slow, it's annoying, but it's practical. With like the light phone, apparently it's super laggy and would like fuck up your typing and just not effective. I don't know if that's been fixed, but they're obscenely expensive for products that don't work super well, right? The Punked, I hear, works pretty well, but not amazing. The light phone does not work super well. And they're so expensive. Like there's no need to spend that much money. I think the biggest thing I've invested in this whole process so far has been music, because music is really important to me. But if purchasing music isn't super important to you, the one thing you could do is buy nothing groups. That's huge. Look into if there's a buy nothing group in your area. Or of course, there is the library. The library does exist. The library does have CDs that you can borrow for free. And there are devices you can get for not a lot of money on Amazon that would take the information from that CD and put it onto your computer. If you have a laptop, you might already have a device built into your computer that does that. Most like desktops don't have that option anymore. You do have to buy an external USB optical drive, but it is possible. I'm not necessarily encouraging or endorsing you to do that because it is of questionable legality and ethics, morality, whatever. It is questionable in doing so, but it is possible. It is a thing that you could do, and you're supporting your local library. And technically, the artist has still been somewhat paid for it because the library had to purchase the CD to have it in the first place. So it is still less illegal than other options of obtaining music for free. There are a lot of ways that you can do that, and you also don't necessarily even have to do that. If you get like the cat phone, it still supports Spotify. You could still have your streaming services or whatever. I've seen people jailbreak iPods to connect it to Spotify. Feels a little more DIY and technical than I'm willing to do, but I don't know about you. I don't know your life or your story or what your skills and talents are. That might be something you can look into. Or just like looking into other ways to listen to music that maybe support artists a little bit better. I don't know. But yeah, music is probably the biggest thing I've invested in this process, and it will continue to be the biggest thing I invest in, but that feels really important to me. And beyond the music aspect of it, everything else can be solved pretty easily. We don't actually need a tiny dopamine machine in our pockets at all times. And if you feel like you are struggling to cut out your relationship with your phone, you're not alone. You are not alone at all. And it's possible to come back from it, I promise. So yeah, that's my long rambly video about all the things that have changed and how I'm getting rid of how deleting Instagram led to me getting rid of my smartphone. And I really hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching if you're still here. If you would like to support me beyond just watching these videos, subscribing is huge. Sharing these videos is huge. If you're in Victoria, BC or Canada and want to book with me and book me for photography, you can check out my website. The link is down below. If you want to keep up to date on all the different things that I'm offering, travel dates, sales, etc., you can subscribe to my newsletter, which is on my website and also linked separately down below. And beyond that, yeah, thank you so much for being here. I am so having fun with this little experiment and getting to talk to you about all these different things. Next week, I think I'm going to be talking a little bit about bodies. So stay tuned for that, because that is one of the biggest things in my line of work is hearing folks talk about the fact that they don't like their bodies. And I want to talk about how boudoir helps with that. So yeah, My thoughts are still spinning, but that's kind of where we're at for next week. So let me know if you enjoyed this style of video more than the vlog as well. I think I'm gonna kind of ping pong between the two of them, but I definitely enjoyed filming this. So thank you so much, and I'll talk to you next week.